Hello, you beautiful people. Welcome to another week of Golf Subpar. I am Drew Stoltz. Noticeably absent today. My partner, Colt Knost, could not make it. Just got off the horn with him. He's on a bus for the John Deere. He was on the bus with Kiz, Sneds, a few of the other boys, and let's just say not in a state to be podcasting currently. So we'll be handling the intro, outro solo, getting into some picks before we get to our interview with Smylie Kaufman. First, quick little Rocket Mortgage recap. Cam Davis coming away with the win. Second win on the PGA Tour. Second win in Detroit after an unfortunate three-putt from Akshay. Final hole. First three-putt of the week. First missed putt inside 6 feet of the week. It's one of those wins for Cam Davis. Granted, not the greatest field in the world. 3 guys in the top 30 in that thing. But when you watch Cam Davis play, at least when I watch him, he looks like the prototype you would build in a lab for modern day golf. 6'4", athletic, hits it far, short game's good, putts it nice, and it's hard to believe there's only a second win on the PGA Tour, and on top of that, it's his first top 10 on the PGA Tour this season. His other best finish was 12th at the Masters, and I watch him. He's a guy I'm like, how does this guy not win 4 or 5 times? How is he not, contending in major championships? Because the game is all the way there. And to stay on that same point, Cam Young coming up close again. Not a runner-up, which he has 7 of in his PGA Tour career, but it kind of feels like a runner-up. He was right there the entire way. Had a little snapped the driver on frustration on 14. Wasn't hitting it that straight anyways, but then he goes in, like, on the 17th hole, 570 into the wind, pillow soft out there. Most guys are hitting driver 3 woods on the green or near the green, driver for Aaron Rye. He goes and hits 3 wood on the green, and then 3 putts, ends up losing by a few. And it's like, man, that guy, talent level is a joke. Just can't seem to get over the hump in terms of winning golf tournaments. Also doesn't look like the happiest dude in the world when he's on the course out there. But he gave it a hell of a run. Shout out to Akshay Bhatia, too, by the way, who that's a brutal way to lose with a 3-putt on the final hole, for getting in there, answering the questions from the media, saying, like, look, I'm human. These things happen. I was nervous. He's an easy guy to root for. And he's got 2 wins on the PGA Tour, close to getting his 3rd. He seems to be on the rocket ship right now in terms of his career trajectory. And also, for me personally, I was leaning from my guy, Minwoo Lee, almost getting up there, getting in contention with a great final round, almost getting it done, but I'm waiting for him to win, and also waiting to get him here in the studio where we're going to have a couple pops and talk about things, because that dude is spectacular. So we move on. We move on to the John Deere Classic this week. But before we do, I actually played a little competitive golf this past week. It was terrible. I shot a million out at LA Country Club, the George C. Thomas. Shout out to everyone at LA Country Club. Fantastic event, phenomenal golf course. Played the pin locations from the U.S. Open for 3 days. Most of the same tees on the par 3s, couple par 4s moved around. I will say this, though. My main struggle for the week with my driver off the tee, I hit it. Those fairways are big, and if you don't hit them, it's an enormous problem. I hit it all over the map, which is strange for me. But take this for what it's worth. I show up. I have to check my bags. I don't use ship sticks because I was using my clubs the day before I go out there. Everything's fine with all my clubs. I show up, get to the golf course, play a practice round. Everything was fine. First round, boom, driver breaks. The face isn't cracked, but there's this rattle going on in there. It feels weird. You can hear it every time you swing. It's messed up. I drive it all over the lot. I'm not saying the airlines broke it, but I'm saying every time I've used ship sticks, my driver has gotten there in one piece and had no issues throughout the rest of the week. So the one time I don't get to use ship sticks, I have a debacle, which is why you should use them anytime you can. If you're not using your clubs the day before you take off, ship them. So much easier. They're safer. You got more insurance. They treat them better. And now I got a busted dog, and I got to fix it. So if you're going on a trip, make sure you use our friends over at Shipsticks. They're the best in the business. Go to shipsticks.com/subpar. Gets you 20% off. Or just shipsticks.com. Use the code subpar. Share it with your friends. Share it with your family. Anyone that's traveling in the summer, bringing your golf clubs with you, do not go without using Ship Sticks. They are the best. All right, time to get to our interview. NBC golf broadcaster, host of a podcast as well, former PGA Tour player, Smylie Kaufman joins us here on Subpar. All right, coming to you live from the Saks Underwear Complex here at the Travelers Championship. Golf Subpar proud to present to you former PGA Tour player turned NBC golf broadcaster Smylie Kaufman is in the house. Smiles, it's a pleasure
What's up, buddy?
You smell fantastic, by the way.
I didn't know if we were live. I didn't know if this was like the test run, but we're officially live.
It's
We
super
are
live.
We are live.
Live. By the way, I don't know if you're an underwear guy or not. Maybe you just decide to go commando, but if not, Saks, nice underwear.
Good underwear. Need to get a pair.
Gotta protect the nuts, Smiley.
Yes, well said.
It's important.
And,
Especially this time of year.
Yeah.
Exactly, dude.
A little hot out there.
Swamp season right now.
Yeah, we need to get like a built-in fan here for this week inside the Saks underwear. Now that's an idea.
Well,
Now
you
you're
are.
thinking.
Yes, that is a great idea. You, by the way, you forgot to mention host of the Smiley Show.
Correct. Podcaster. I mean,
Yeah,
dude, I only have so
does it
much
all.
time to get an intro in.
I
Dude. This guy does
we're-
a lot of
yeah,
shit.
he's a podcaster, right?
Yeah,
podcaster.
podcaster.
Whatever.
Broadcaster, all kinds of stuff.
Well, you're in Hartford this week, but you're coming off the U.S. Open, where y'all had a hell of a week there at NBC. I mean, it was a battle around Pinehurst No. 2. You had Bryson DeChambeau on Saturday, I believe, one of the days.
Had him Thursday.
Yeah, whatever,
Had
Thursday,
him
Saturday.
Friday for
Gold
happy hour.
jacket, green
Saturday,
jacket.
I was with Dietrich and Cantlay, and that was we're just watching Pinehurst that day.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot of action. in
Yeah,
that
not
group.
much going on. Those days happen. You had Rory on Sunday, which we'll get
Yeah.
to. But take us through Bryson. I mean, the way he played that golf course. I mean, what he's been doing, his run in the majors this year has just been incredible. And he's just a totally different person now, it seems like.
Yeah, I think you make a great point just about how he does feel like a different person. And when you speak to him, it reminds you of kind of like how Bryson used to be before, I don't know, where he became maybe a little less liked in some circles as far as just like kind of the way he handled things and maturity level. And on the way out from the PGA Tour, it was just like, man, it just was really tough to like and root for the guy. But now it's like I'm all the way back. Bryson's, he was super, super kind and nice to me all week. When he didn't have to be, didn't have to give me as much information as he did, but he was great. And I guess too, I mean, talking about his golf game, because I think you've seen him on the ground and watched him play at the PGA. The thing that impressed me the most was obviously the driver, but the way in which the driver flew. Mm-hmm. It's the way this ball flies, and you're just sitting there watching, you're like, how is somebody supposed to beat that this week? And then you go watch Rory, you're like, okay, that guy could beat him. But insane to watch this dude. And I'll say, like, the other part of his game, too, that surprised me was how much he was finally starting to change from hitting it just everything super, super hard. He was working on this, like, three-quarter, half-swing type shot.
1030, yeah.
1030 shot. He hit a 206-yard 9-iron on 15, and the hole before, he hit this 166-yard 9-iron. So to go from like a 40 to 50-yard difference in a 9-iron from one hole to the next, I thought showed a lot to me as for a guy that can change. It's like a Paul Skeens up there that throws 102, but then he can throw you that nasty little change up at whatever. It's just.
And he gets to hang out with Livy Dunn.
Yeah, there you go.
What a gig.
Not bad. Not bad at all. We're getting into the serious golf stuff. How about the big question mark, I feel like, for Bryson going in is like short game. All right, you got your wedges are the length of 6 irons. Your the soft like touch shots. I think you can get it on the ground and play those just fine. But like the up and down on the 8, 10, 11 stretch of getting all
10 for
three of
sure.
those.
And
That's
8,
right when
yeah.
Rory was going nuts too and making birds. Right. There's a situation where 8 is a joke of an up and down. That's at least a bogey. 10, he doesn't. That's a really hard up and down. 11, same way. Like if he just gets up and down once, the other 2 he doesn't. And Rory makes those birdies. Like we could have been looking like Rory just cruises in at that point.
Yes, exactly. I mean, Bryson, what he was able to do on those holes, but really, there were times that you have lulls in major championships and you need your short game to save you. And Bryson had multiple times that happened, and then a couple, really Sunday was probably the day he hit it probably the worst.
Yeah.
And
T-ball
he had
for
to
sure.
get it up and down, and that, how much pressure that is on Sunday to be relying on your short game for a guy that prides himself on being an elite ball striker. That to me said a lot about his game. I wish I got to see him play more because my sample size of watching him play golf is so small. My bandwidth is just following watching and following the PGA Tour and then checking scores on the Live Golf Tour. That's with all that we have going on. It's hard to watch both tours for somebody that we just don't have the time for it. So
Say what, when you do get to watch him, though, it's damn entertaining.
Fun, yeah.
Like, I mean, that Sunday I had with him at Valhalla, and he was talking going up and down the fairways. He was embracing
awesome.
the crowd.
Yeah.
And just, like you said, watching him play. I mean, I know his lofts are like crazy and everything.
It's fun
but
to say on
hitting 8-iron from 223 on 16 at the PGA to a foot, I'm like, oh my God, this is just ridiculous.
Were people chirping at you at all about, it's like, well, it's not really an 8-iron. You know,
Yeah,
like,
I
it's
mean-
fun to say, though. It
has the number 8 on the bottom of it.
It does.
I get it. I don't understand
I'll
why.
tell you, I mean, honestly, it was last year at one of the major championships I had his group, and Justin Thomas was like, will you please, like, explain that it's not just a normal 8-iron? And I get it. Like, I mean, I remember one call I made, I said, you know, same club, or 2 less clubs, but same loft for Bryson compared to Victor. Like, I mean, his clubs are basically 2 clubs strong, but with his speed and his launch conditions, like, he can do that.
Yeah. No, totally. And not quite our launch conditions, I would say.
I mean, I pulled that club out.
I mean, speak for yourself.
The clubs almost have onset. Like,
It's weird, man. It's like
his 5-iron, I'm like, I can't get that in there.
It's inverted.
His driver, when you look, it looks negative loft. If you've seen the down like the, you know, bird's eye view of
the
it, I'm like,
crank.
that's negative
The crank.
loft, and it's
That
and
was
he
wild on
hits
Sunday,
missiles
too.
with
So,
it.
I didn't feel like anybody really asked enough about what happened with the driver. Like, he said after, he's like, yeah, the face kind of flattened, but I wish I wouldn't have changed it because the other one you need to hit like 50 or 60 times to kind of wear in. Like, I didn't understand, like, did he see something on the launch monitor or did he see something in the flight? Like, I never heard.
I don't know. I'd already left at that point because I was with the group in front. So I'd heard it when he was on hole 1 that he had changed and switched something. I was like, oh, God. And then his ball ends up going into a divot on the first fairway. And
Yeah.
Rory makes a putt from 20 feet at 1. I was like, okay, maybe it's Rory McIlroy's day. I'm kind of bebopping down the fairway. I'm like, this is going to be fun. And I kept hearing in my ears that that Bryson is not being able to turn over his drivers on the front 9, and then the back 9 he's just overturning and overcorrecting. But how often do you ever hear somebody say, yeah, my face flattened? That is not something that we talk about. We talk about a cracked face, not a flattened face.
I don't really crack that many either, if I'm being honest. I've had some few drivers for a long time. They have not cracked. He brings like multiple to every tournament because it's just an inevitability.
Totally. And I didn't know I was playing with a cracked driver at Pine Valley until Rickie came up. He's like, hey, let me hit your driver. It's like, sure, great. Yeah, it's been a really good driver for me. And then he's like, do you know your driver's cracked, right? I was like, no.
No, I didn't.
That explains everything. That explains.
Was your driving iron cracked?
Everything was cracked.
We'll get to Pine Valley. We'll get to Pine Valley.
Oh, I got a real. Since we're doing U.S. Open recap right now, I'm gonna ask one. Give me the Rory take. What's the Rory take, dude? Decade plus. You've got all the talent in the world.
Yeah.
Could have won numerous of these things. Put it to bed. What is it?
Two things I've settled in on after just sleeping on this for a couple days now. I think we're gonna forget about how well he putted. He putted as good as you could possibly putt on a Sunday outside of 2 putts. Made all the important ones he had to make. So that to me is if Rory can get past those short misses, I think there's a lot to take away positive on a Sunday for putts that he did make, because last year he wasn't making those putts and at any major championship because he was striping it and wasn't doing anything with the putter. So I think we'll forget about that. So, and the other thing with the 2 putts that he did miss on 16 and 18, 16 inexcusable, can't 3-putt from there. It wasn't a hard 2-putt. I thought it was a putt he could make. 18, that putt turns out you can make it left center. You just got to hammer it.
No.
And it needs to hit the back of the hole, go up, and then go down.
That's a good save. That's a good save right there. For the record, left center was an accurate read.
It's my new bit. Left center is my
all
new
day.
bit.
Maybe straight, guys. Maybe
I got
straight.
behind it, and that's the thing. It was a learning experience for me, because the worst thing that you possibly could do, if he would have made it, it wouldn't have mattered. But since he missed and then it happened to break off a planet and he pushed it, it's like, man, I wish I would have just said, it depends on the speed, you know?
Did social media let you have it at all?
Oh, buddy. Yeah, listen, I mean, I'm not perfect. I did my best to what I thought the read was. I probably would have changed I wouldn't have ever given anything definite. I would have said there's some right in this or some down in this, just to be a little bit more vague. And that's a learning experience. I mean, chalk that up in the category as somebody who's, not really been in that situation on 18. And I just was in a good spot. Felt like I had the read.
I mean, listen, we do the same thing out there, and it's just amazing that these people think like we stalk it from both sides and like spend 2 minutes reading it. It's like you're literally walking by, and it's just like, hey, a quick peek. You don't have a Greens book or anything. It's like, hey, this is what I got. And sometimes you're wrong, but the amount of people on social media be like, you are the worst. You said that pose was gonna break left, it broke right. I'm like,
at least it did
go
right,
bro. Like I was 30 yards away.
At least it went right.
Yeah.
So it didn't go right. Just say left to right, downhill. It's just a fast one.
You said you could hit this straight, it still might go in.
You gotta hammer it. You gotta hammer it.
Smiley's gonna get killed for this one.
You gotta hammer it, Rory.
I mean, dude, you get it if it's a cup out putt, and you go a little right to left, right edge or something, it breaks a little bit. People are like, dude, it broke at least a cup. Like, yeah, dude. I just walked by. I didn't even really get a look at it. I just knew it was right to left. But I think that's the key. Is you just have to be like big. It's left to right. It's just moving, and it's really fast.
It's definitely a learning experience. And the second point I was going to get to, besides the 16-18, just wanted to touch on it, was I felt like Harry Diamond really should have stepped in on the 15th hole. He did not have the right club in his hands. And I felt like Rory could have taken control of the championship on 15 if he just hits it in the middle of the green. And he hit a good shot, but it just was the wrong club. It never was a 7-iron for Rory, especially with the right flag. Just if the wind was down off the right, it's not exactly a flag in a wind condition in the heat to be able to land it in a hula hoop where you got to hit this like kind of soft, spinny fade 7-iron. It was an 8-iron all day, hit it in the middle of the green. I would say that was a huge mistake. And then I know the moment was massive on 18, but his chip shot wasn't that hard. I got up there and I was like, I felt like I could chip that underneath the hole inside of 10 feet. So I thought the big mistake there was not prioritizing giving yourself an uphill putt.
Gotcha.
So those are the two takeaways of mistakes that I feel like Rory made, and then just the mental lapse at 16.
I'll say the shot on 15. So a lot of people, social media, a lot of the golf podcast media people were saying that he hit, like, one of his advantages is how high he can hit it. And they said that one came in low. And I was like, well, if you watch on TV, the apex at 127 feet. I mean, PGA Tour average is 96 feet with a 7-iron. Like,
I didn't notice it well.
It was not. I mean, if TV was correct, which I'm guessing it was, 127 feet is not low.
It looks like just a normal trajectory 7-iron for him.
He just flew it 6-7 yards too far.
Maybe it came off with a little lower spin than maybe he was expecting, but it just was. It was like 90, 95 degrees, right? Mm-hmm. So the ball's going. I think the front was like 189. And we're talking about heat, adrenaline, downwind. 8-iron's getting there. Yeah. And if anything on that hole, short was where you wanted to leave it.
That's the thing. It's like long is the only one. And it rolled into a terrible lie and stuff. But you mentioned like Harry Diamond needs to step in at that point. What do you do? Because we just talked to a couple caddies, asked them kind of a similar question. But if Rory's married to that 7, he's like, I love the 7. He yanks it. It's like, this is the perfect one. This is the right one. How much balls does it take as a caddy to step in and try to talk your guy off a club that he's in love with?
To be fair, and I wanted to maybe ask Colt about this too. It's not unusual though for Rory to kind of make all the decisions. I don't really ever see Harry stepping in a ton. Rory always, if he has a question, he'll ask. But for the most part, Rory kind of goes and does his thing, and he has got a lot of feel. I don't know if you feel that way too.
Well, in my opinion, and this isn't a knock at a lot of the caddies, but a lot of the caddies nowadays are much more vocal. You know, they're on TV a lot more. And Harry's very soft-spoken. Like, I think he does give his opinion. It's just not out loud for the boom mic to pick up like a lot of the other guys.
Yeah. I didn't pick anything up on 15, but
I think he is very soft-spoken, and he's not out there to be heard or anything like that, but he does give his opinion to Rory. Harry's a great player, by the way, and everybody, you know, there's a lot of criticism. Should he move on? And I was like, dude, Rory feels comfortable with his guy. It's one of his best friends in the world. They've won together. I mean, it's not Harry out there hitting the shots. I mean,
there was no questions at Quail Hollow when he just beat everyone's head into the ground. He was a pretty good caddy that week.
Oh, I think
there's just
I'm not
too much
fire the guy. I just think that there was a wrong decision made, and when it comes down to one shot, which it did, there was one shot that was something that
the miss was in the wrong spot. I think is the bottom line. If you're gonna miss anything, if you're in between, like, we got to be short.
In my head, as a player, when you execute a shot exactly how you're supposed to, and it ends up in a terrible spot, you have to look at, all right, what happened here? Because that's what happened at the 15th hole. I know Pinehurst, there's a lot of luck involved. Maybe that ball doesn't bounce as hard and it stays in that fairway cut and he chips up and makes a bogey anyways. Okay, that's fine. I think I'm talking about it because of where the golf ball ended up, that when a pro hits a good shot, ends up in a bad place, you kind of have to question the club and the decision.
One last thing on the U.S. Open, because I know you played in the final pairing at the Masters back in 2016, but now with this gig you got, how much fun was that coming down the stretch at a major championship with one of the guys you're covering has a chance to win?
It was electric, man. I think telling Fran on Sunday night, I was like, this is, there are weeks that are slow in what we do, and there's days that are slow, days you don't get on TV, and which is fine. But days like that make up for the days that aren't quite as fun. And so, super fun, great learning experience. Definitely went back and watched. Definitely some things I picked up on, can improve on, like maybe not saying left center on 18, but everything else I really do feel like it was a lot of fun, and being a part of something that was just so fun to watch in person, and I'm sure it was on TV because both of these guys were waiting for each other to hit on every hole, and Rory's watching where he's hitting everything. So just being a part of that was just so much fun.
The back nine was just, it's some of the most exciting golf we've had in a long time. And then you were there, staying off 18 in case there was a playoff.
I didn't know we were going.
You didn't know where you were going?
I didn't know.
You were going to 17.
Okay, I was going to 17.
But the bunker shot Bryson hit. In that situation, I loved your tweet. You're like, I would have scolded that so far over the clubhouse, it'd still be going up.
Every human watching that, other than Bryson, was thinking this is going into the clubhouse, and there's going to be 7,000 balls hitting that clubhouse in the next year from people recreating.
Do not have lunch
from
on the
people
back patio.
recreating that shot
for a while.
They need some extra insurance.
Well, after Bryson went and hit into the bunker, I was up by the green, and so I wanted to see what the lie looked like. So I walked all the way over to the bunker, right around 50 yards, and see it's right in the middle. And okay, on a Monday or a practice day, it's a shot that you can pull off. It's not something I think if you gave Colt and I 10 balls each, we probably get 8 balls onto the green.
What am I getting?
Sorry, sorry.
What are we even doing right now? This is the biggest insult I've ever heard in my life.
Sorry, Sleaze.
Okay.
My apologies.
Yeah.
But
better. Fix it.
The only thing I picked up on was when Bryson initially went in there and was kind of feeling out the sand, kind of digging in a little bit, and then kind of took a step back to kind of visualize the shot. It's like, man, that's a shit ton of sand. Mm-hmm. It just looked like it just hadn't had the play like the rest of the golf course had, to where they kind of had thinned out a little bit over the course of the week. You could tell this sand had not gotten much action at all. And that's what made the shot that much more impressive, right?
You're not going in there on Tuesday or Wednesday.
There were 0 rake marks that I saw in that shot.
That's
when he hit it.
You have to hit that shot with so much power to be able to carry it 30, 40 yards. And then he was playing for a chunk and run. And if I was playing for a chunk and run in that position, I may have left it in the bunker.
Front edge, maybe.
I would have short of the green. There's no doubt. Because all going through my head was that clubhouse. Johnson.
It can't be that hard. Johnson,
unbelievable with the things he's been doing, putting himself out there. It is must-watch television. But I love when he brought Bryson there. He's like, all I saw was the clubhouse. He goes, did you think about the clubhouse? He's like, no, not
That's
at all.
the right question, by the way. Everyone's thinking about the clubhouse.
Yeah, it's the right question.
But how about Johnson, these shots he's been hitting?
Oh, man, there's the highlight reel, definitely. And shit, we've known Johnson forever. He hasn't changed since he's gotten on TV. He's exactly who he's always been, and now the world gets to know Johnson. And
it's been the whole roller coaster. You guys go to the PGA, I think, when it first started to get traction. And the shanks of the oopsies, and just, oh God, and as soon as they hit it, I literally was I was sitting with Andres Gonzalez, and I was,
so
as
relatable.
It would come out, let's, and we were, crying, laughing, and I'm no one wants to be embarrassed on national TV, but everyone loves that because everyone can relate to that. And then to come full circle and hit, that shot with Bryson, who happened to be there with the trophy and all that, that was scripted shit.
I watch it, and I've watched it with people, and they're like, oh my God, he's so bad. This is hilarious. It's just remember, this guy won three times on the PGA Tour, guys. He was the real deal.
Heck yeah, he was. He's a great ball striker, and just going through a little bit of a yippee-yi-you time right now. We've all been there.
Yes, we have.
Yeah, kind of been there right now with the old ball striking.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Yeah, let's talk about your game though a little bit. You want to get into it?
Yeah, we can
Because
get
you're
into
out of
it.
it now. You're in the broadcast. You're doing a fantastic job, which is a tough transition to take. Nobody's like, it's always like a backup, right? You're going to play on tour as long as you can, but now you're in it. You're doing a hell of a job. But where are you with your own golf? Can you go out and play and not like be caught up in what you shoot anymore?
Oh,
Are you
yeah.
that level?
I don't really hardly ever keep score unless I got it going, and then that's where all right,
I
we'll
like
get
that.
going. Yeah, and that's where all right, cool. Let's see what we shoot today, and probably from November, December through, I'd say, right around after our Pine Valley trip, I was playing terrible. Just was like hitting it bad. I couldn't figure it out. And had recently started playing better. Played well at Sleepy Hollow a couple weeks ago, or 2 or 3 weeks ago. So I feel like I'm closer on the way to back than where I was throwing away the clubs. For a couple months ago, I was like, okay, this game sucks.
On the way to back. I like to hear that. What is it with you? Is it the driver, irons, chipping, putting?
It's all technical. I just do a couple things in my golf swing, and some days if I have it timed up, it's great. Other days I don't. It's like I have no solution here. When I got on the second hole at Pine Valley, and it's the straightest hole you've ever seen in your life.
The greatest
and
par 4 in the world.
And there's nowhere to miss it. It's just you, yourself, and just the golf gods looking upon you on trying to hit this fairway. And boy, oh boy, was I ever not close to hitting that fairway.
Well, we did have an incredible trip, though. It was so much fun. And you were in the group when Rickie made the hole-in-one on number 3.
So
Take
good.
us through that, because the fact that y'all filmed it.
Well, so we had gotten off the second hole, and I'm in this we've got off to a rough start again. So I'm
1-2 can end your day, by the way.
If you didn't know, there's a road on one, and I was right of the road like twice. So
The road.
that
Bouncing
chip
against
is
the
down
tree.
road.
That is-
It gets stymied by the tree. Oh god, that's
That
a
is
whole
right.
story within itself. I screw up on 2, and then I get to the third tee, and I'm like, I have got to find something. And then Justin is off to a nice start. And he's like, well, you're going to need to get your phones out because I'm about to make a hole-in-one. I'm like, sweet. Like, we saw be at Pine Valley to watch somebody make an ace, and he hits this beautiful 7-iron and just kind of hits this just softer one. Comes up like 8 yards short, right on line in the bunker. And he was like, sick, good shot. And then Rickie gets up and hits this majestic high 5-yard draw 7-iron. And it lands, because it's a front left pin, like frontish left, which is actually a really hard hole-in-one, and it lands exactly where it should. And for the last 10 feet, it felt like a year, because it looked like it was just going to go in the whole way. Goes in, and we all go nuts. And of course, I got to hit next. And Bambi is over there 30 yards right of the green, and I'm about to take Bambi and her mother out. It was just a tough scene over there.
So we're on the fourth tee. We're on the fourth tee. Eli, and we hear them as you can hear Justin from the tee. Oh, that's it. And like I could kind of see it start to rolling, but then I'm not tall enough to see. But then they just go nuts. Okay, places going crazy. And then Smiley has to hit, and here says whack. And I'm like looking for the ball, and I was here. And I'm just like,
7-iron, too. In your defense,
I almost got up and down too.
That is amazing.
in your defense, the first 5 at PV, you can be 9 over, then it's like, yeah, I get it. I understand how. It's the hardest opening stretch in the
get
world.
Pine Valley. I was always like hesitant. I was like, well, why is Pine Valley like rated number 1 and everything? And I get it.
It's the
It
sickest.
is one of the coolest layouts I've ever played. Just the thought behind every single hole. It's so challenging, and it just tests every part of your game. And I'll tell you what you got to do out there. You need to hit it in the fairway.
Yeah. Your pitch out game was good though.
My pitch out game is in a really good spot.
Yeah, it was nice. You did make a birdie heard around the world on the par 5.
Actually, it wasn't heard around the world
That's a
because
hard par 5.
Nobody knew we made it.
Or 7. Is it 7?
No, it's
7. Yeah. 7 because 8's the short one, then 9.
Yeah, 7. If you miss the
No one saw
fairway
you
there,
go
it's a
in.
1-stroke penalty.
Listen, I was in a tough
What a
spot.
bird by you.
I don't even know if I'd made a par to this point, and I get to 7, hit it left, and had to punch out into the fairway, and I hit this driver off the deck into the front left bunker, and now I'm in a position to make a par. I'm in a good spot. Just have a 30-yard bunker shot, make great contact, everybody's kind of behind me and say, "Hey, good shot." He's like, you kind of feel bad for the guy. It's just got off to a bad start. So everybody's like, way to go, kid. And just like the kid, you stick out in right field. That's kind of how it felt there for a bit. And I hit this bunker shot, and there was 2 balls on the green. I think Colt or maybe Willie. We knew they were on the green. And we're like, "Where's the other ball?" And by golly, it was in the hole. And if you didn't know that at Pine Valley, you get a flag if you make a birdie from the bunker on number 7.
You do.
You do. That's a cool feature that they have. That's a very cool feature.
That was an awesome trip, though. Shout out to Eli Manning.
What
for
a bird. What a bird by you.
We're in tequila debt to Eli.
Yeah.
You're in bigger tequila
I'm in
debt.
much bigger debt. There's no doubt about that. He was impressed.
Buddy, it was a faucet. It was incredible. And I was happy to be there to witness
Told my
it.
man, I was like, hey, just keep them coming.
How's Eli's game?
I don't think I've played with Eli.
I played with him the second day. It's nice. He's like a 6, 7.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think I played
Didn't
with
hit that
Eli.
far.
Dude, the Mannings are good at everything.
Yeah, of course.
I didn't play with Eli, and I didn't play with Ben. So
Yeah.
I'll have to do another trip with them. Or actually, please have me wherever you go.
So we should go to
and
Pine
I'll do
Valley
a trip
again.
with
That's a
them.
good way to invite yourself back to PB. You
you
got
see
another
what's
trip
there?
coming up across the pond when you go over
Yeah.
for what? Scottish
Yeah.
and the Open Championship.
Play
You
some
gonna
golf
play?
over in Ireland, man. Excited.
What's the lineup?
European, Island Club, Portmarnock, and County Louth or Louth.
Kind of played there. It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excited.
Jamie Lovemark almost had a heart attack because they're called hares over there. They are giant rabbits about the size of me. They're called hares. And we were walking through the fescue there towards the fairway down the walkway, and this thing comes out, and I'm not kidding you, it's this tall, and it ran right in front of Jamie, and I thought he was going to shit himself or have a heart attack. It was greatness.
Wow. Got to bring a leash with me in Ireland, apparently.
You'll
Don't worry about
Bambi.
Bambi. You worry about these little
Okay,
bastards.
all right.
They're running
I'll trust
around.
me. If these hares or these big ass bunnies are in the right,
Big ass bunnies.
if they're in the right fescue, I'll see them.
Protect your neck. Protect your neck.
If they're on the left
rabbits.
side of the course, I'm not going to see any of it.
Smiley's coming.
I want to ask you about a couple of guys. Obviously, you're very close with Jordan Spieth. His game's not quite where he wants it right now. I know a little bit of a wrist issue. Don't know how serious it is. He's kind of pushed that away. But what are your thoughts on Jordan and where his game's at right now?
It's funny, right? Because if you go and look at the stats, and you get confused, because if you would have supplanted his driving ability this year and any other year, he's winning. Maybe not in a Scotty Scheffler dominant year, but he's at least finishing top 5 a couple different times. He's in contention, has a chance on the back nine on a Sunday. This year, man, it's just been a total opposite of what his career has been. He's always been able to lean on his wedge game, his short game, and his iron game, really just his ability to shape shots and be comfortable shaping it both ways. His putting was good to start the year, but his putting lately is really tailed off, and now he's got an iron and wedge game that is just mediocre from his standards and an inconsistent putter inside of 10 feet lately. So I don't know. I keep wanting to believe that one week it's all just going to come together, but when you have so many things that are just slightly off, it seems like he pushes a little bit too much on some days to try to make something happen instead of just letting the tournament come to him and letting his game come to him, which we all are guilty of when we're playing on the PGA Tour, to try to get and reach those expectations, because you want your work ethic to match your results. And he's been working his tail off. He's never driven it better. He's never driven it further.
He's hitting it hard right now.
And he's probably just having this season that just doesn't make any sense by the metrics and by his standards. So I don't know. I don't. Besides
my opinion, it just seems like he's always been an artist, right? I mean, he's never driven it good, like you said. I mean, you think back to the Open Championship when he hit it on the damn range by the Titleist trailer, like down there, and ended up making a ridiculous par. But to me, it just seems like he's gotten so technical with the golf swing. Like he's doing the weird rehearsal and everything. And I wish he would just go back to just hitting shots and being the artist that's what made him great.
That's a great point. And I think probably needs to get back to a little bit more of that. And yeah, he's arguably, when he was going through that stretch that was really bad, and his really bad golf still found him in final group pairings, which tells you how good of a golfer he is and how good his ability is to get the golf ball in the hole. So if you show up to the golf course with that mentality of, I got what I got, let's just go play golf and be Jordan Spieth and be the guy that I know who I am, which is better than you at being able to get around a golf course. That's probably, to your point, what he needs to get.
Yeah, because you watch, like, when he gets it in just an awful situation around the greens, that's where he shines. And there's no thought, there's no nothing. He's just Jordan Spieth, and he has magic hands, and he steps up there and hits a lot of shots that other people can't.
Yeah, totally. And it's so fun to watch. We always say it too much. It's almost like a broken record. Anytime he gets in a situation, I wouldn't be surprised if he chips this in. It's like, just press the button. But I think, too, maybe there's a correlation, too. When you make swing changes, you start hitting it further. Sometimes there's a driver swing that guys have, and sometimes there's an iron swing that guys have. And I think he's kind of caught a little bit in between really good feels with his driver. And Rory actually talked about this a little bit this year. Had this amazing feel with his driver where his right arm's going up the line, but with his irons, it just was giving him results that were resulting in mainly pulls. The face was rotating on him. The face wasn't stable through the shot. And I wonder if maybe his iron game right now is going through a little bit of the technical technique stuff that he has in his driver and his feels doesn't match up with his driver feels. And I think there's a little bit of that going on too.
And that's the teeter-totter with golf, which makes it mind-numbing, right? It's just like, all right, I'm not a great driver. Everything's great except my driving. I got to improve my driving. So what do you spend all your time on? Getting better at driving the golf ball, which he's done, right? And then all of a sudden when you spend that time, it takes away from time. But now my wedge game, my iron game is not as good. It's so hard to balance that teeter-totter. And I think Jordan's like a victim of his own success in the sense that he came out so early, so young, won so easily and so often that it's like that's the bar. As opposed to like that's one of the greatest stretches we'll see. It's like that's the standard. And to live up to that year after year, you just can't play golf. I don't care who you are. Scotty Scheffler will go through a run where he's not Scotty Scheffler right now. You can't do it, and Jordan's in it right now.
I think data golf has been a really nice tool for us to be able to go back and look at guys' stats over the last decade of what they've done well. And when you go look at Jordan's little, I don't know what, is it a pentagon? Those little things that they have. Have you ever been on data golf?
It's the chart.
The little chart thing.
5 sides is a pentagon.
Yeah, it's not a pentagon.
Is it one, two? I don't know. Well, whatever
Hexagon,
it is.
perhaps?
Could be. Whatever the shape is, go check it out yourself. I don't know.
Yeah, I got you. It's like,
Yeah.
It's
Whatever. Maybe a pentagon.
Yeah.
It's a shape.
Jordan's year in 15, man. It's how good he was putting it. Well, I just don't think it was ever sustainable.
No.
That's what I'm saying. But that's the first time people got to see him, right? It's your first impression. It's like, oh my God, he's the greatest putter to ever walk the planet. That's going to happen for the next. It's like when one guy wins a major and they're playing great. Like, he's going to win 7.
Yeah,
we just start to scale it out for the next decade, and it doesn't work like that in golf.
When you're playing good, you never feel like you'll ever miss a cut or ever make a bogey. And when you're playing bad, you never feel like you're ever going to win again. You never feel like you're going to make a birdie. You never feel like you're going to make a cut. It's just the game's frustrating as hell.
I was going through a rough stretch there for a while, and I was living in Dallas, and my boys at Royal Oaks, you have the 4T system where you make the tee times online.
Yeah.
Every Tuesday they would go in and put me in the group on Saturday, even when I was on a tour event. And I would get an email saying, noon Tuesday, you, Frank Voigt, and all the boys. I was like, you assholes.
Is 11:30 too early on Saturday?
They should have plugged me in there with you when I was playing.
It was
bad.
funny. I laughed. One other thing. It's been a huge hit. The happy hour with Smiley, which no idea how you came up with that idea. It's just wild. But
here we go.
Do you have a dream guest?
Here we go. Well, it wasn't my idea. Number one. The dream guest.
I'll do it.
I don't.
Nothing on that. I thought I would get something, but nothing.
I've found that the players are the easiest because you can just throw them things and they can just take it. So honestly, any golfer, I don't really care who it is, somebody that wants to call golf, that's who I want in there. I think it's difficult to call golf for somebody that doesn't, unless you're like Charles Barkley, who is really witty and come in there and just give you zingers and just speak his mind of what he sees. That's the type that you kind of need if they don't really know the X's and the O's. So Charles Barkley, I guess that would be my would be my pick. That's my pick.
He's going to be available in a year, perhaps.
Yeah.
So
maybe Charles will come on.
You can hire him full time for like $200 million.
Yeah, talk to NBC. You guys are spending money right now. Go get Chuck.
Shoot, man. Charles would be great.
We're here at Hartford this week. Do you have one lined up for Friday?
CBS week. So
No Smiley, no happy hour.
Yeah, happy hours.
CBS, damn it.
Yeah, you're here this week, remember?
Oh yeah. I don't work till the weekend.
You're working.
Yeah, nobody this weekend. And
I actually get to work the weekend.
nobody this week, but my pick this week was Can't Lay. I don't know how y'all feel about that. That's what I'm rolling with.
Cal took on our SiriusXM show.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I took Chris Kirk because he was standing right
He
there.
was
when we
standing
did
on the
it.
tee box this season. I'll take Chris Kirk.
Had to.
I tell you who's gonna win this motherfucker. It's Chris Kirk. No one can beat him. Hey, Chris, how you doing? Good to see you, bud. I didn't see you there.
Well, dude, you're doing a great job. It's so
Thanks,
fun
man. You
listening
too.
to you.
You
I mean,
too.
changing the game. It's awesome to see. It's so refreshing, and keep up the great work.
Thanks, brother. One right shot at a time. We're changing the game.
That's it.
Left center.
That's it.
Left
Inside
center,
left.
baby.
Inside
Print it
left.
on a t-shirt.
I love it.
Thanks, Smiley. All right, a big thank you to Smylie Kaufman for joining us here. Kid's doing a great job out there. Man, it's funny how things change. It feels just like a few years ago. We were getting videos from spring break. We're getting some great shot trackers out there from the boys down in Mexico or Baker's Bay or wherever they are. Now, we're all grown up, grown man job. He's got a child, hardly playing any golf. We're getting old. We're getting old and washed, and it's depressing. But huge shout out to Smiley. Keep doing a great job. That happy hour is a fun little segment for everybody on NBC. Big thank you to Smiles for joining us. All right, wrapping up here. We got to get to some picks for the week here at the John Deere. A lot like last week, not the strongest field in golf, but somebody's going to walk away a champion. Starting off, I'm going to go with the guy that we've been saying is due for the first win on the PGA Tour. He's the best putter in golf. This is not a long golf course. He is not the longest player in the world, but his ball striking has gotten better and better. He seems to play well on all different types of golf courses. I got to think the time is coming for Denny McCarthy going off at 22-1. Give me him this week to get the monkey off the back and get that dub. Long shot. A guy that's kind of a... Last season, he felt like a machine. Just tee to green was spectacular. He was rookie of the year. He stacked up a lot of great finishes, almost won at the Honda. This year, it's been a little slower, but had a great week. This past week in Detroit, looked like the man of old. Eric Cole is going off at 50-1. Give me him. Looking for a first-time winner this week at the John Deere. All right, a big thank you for everyone for listening to this week's Golf Subpar. Enjoy the John Deere Classic, and we'll talk to you next week.